You keep thinking you need to feel like it to do it. That's the lie that's keeping you stuck. You're sitting around waiting for a spark, waiting for inspiration, waiting for a sign. Let me tell you something. Successful people don't wait on motivation. They move without it. You know what they wait on? Nothing. Because they've trained themselves to go regardless. That's the difference between the person who talks about it and the person who walks it. One needs to be hyped up. The other build a system, a code, a rhythm, a discipline. Discipline ain't sexy. It's not loud. It doesn't show off, but it never misses. You want to know why you're not where you want to be. Because you treat your goals like options. You show up when you feel like it. What happens when life punches you in the face? When you're tired, when it's raining, when no one's cheering for you? That's when the real ones are made. That's when discipline steps in. Discipline is the voice that says, I don't care how you feel. We do this. It's not about hype. It's about habits, You think motivation is fuel, but it's fumes. You can't build a legacy on fumes. You can't build a business, a body, a mindset, a dream, a life on fumes. You need structure. You need grit. You need non-negotiables. You need to wake up, suit up, and show up no matter what's going around you. That's what separates amateurs from professionals. Professionals do it regardless. You don't rise to the level of your excitement. You fall to the level of your standards. And if your standard is only when I feel good, then they'll stay average forever. Because motivation is emotional. Motivation says, maybe later. Discipline says, right now. Motivation fades after a hard day. Discipline is there 4 a.m. after the hard day, after the tears, after the doubt. Discipline keeps the promises you made to yourself long after the feeling that made the promises gone. You think champions feel amazing every time they train. You think greatness comes from constant inspiration. No, it comes from consistency in the face of chaos. It comes from repetition when it's boring. It comes from pushing when it's hard, when nobody's clapping, when it seems pointless. Discipline is what builds you in silence so you can perform in public. Every time you skip a session, every time you say, yeah, tomorrow, every time you hit snooze, you reinforce weakness. And every time you show up tired, show up busy, show up hurting, and you still execute, you reinforce strength. You are either building momentum or you're building excuses. There is no in between. You don't get discipline handed to you, forge it. You bleed for it. You suffer through it. Because discipline doesn't give you what's comfortable. It gives you what's necessary. Some days you're going to be sore. Some days you're going to be mentally drained. Some days you're going to question everything. And that's the exact moment you must not fold. That's the moment you lean on discipline, not emotion. Because emotion will scream, quit. But discipline will whisper again. Emotion is loud and fleeting. Discipline is quiet and permanent. You build discipline in the dark, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the unseen, uncelebrated grind. And then one day the results show up and people will call you a lucky, but they didn't see the thousands of solid reps it took to get there. They didn't see you dragging yourself out of bed when everything hurt. They didn't see you fighting your own thoughts just to take the next step. But you know what it cost. You know what it took. Because you stopped chasing motivation and you force yourself to choose discipline. Consistency is the shortcut. Everybody wants the results, but nobody wants to stay in the ground long enough to earn them. Everybody's looking for the hack, the trick, the shortcut. Let me give it to you straight. Consistency is the shortcut. It's the least glamorous, most powerful tool you've got. Not talent, not luck, not connection. You can outwork all of that with one thing, relentless consistency. You're not failing because you don't know what to do. You're failing because you won't do it long enough. You start something, get hyped, post about it, feel good for a week, and then what? You disappear the second it stops being fun. You dip when you don't see results in 2 weeks. Quit when it gets quiet. When it gets quiet, you give up when it gets routine. But the people who win, they show up the same way on day 97 as they did on day 1. No audience, no fireworks, just work. You want to know the real secret? It's boring. Yeah, real progress is boring. It's waking up and doing the same foundational things over and over and over and over until you master them. Until they become who you are. Until your habits catch up to your goals. But most people won't sit still long enough to let that happen. They jump from plan to plan, job to job, idea to idea, because staying the course isn't exciting enough. But the truth is, The ones who stay locked in while everyone else is chasing the next shiny thing. Those are the ones who build something real. Consistency is the discipline to keep planting seeds even when the soil looks dry. It's doing the work when you're not seeing the fruit. It's putting in the reps without applause, without a spotlight, without anyone checking in. That's what breaks you through. That's what separates winners from wishers. You don't need a new plan. You need to stick to the one you keep abandoning every time it gets hard. You think success is about intensity, but it's not. Intensity burns out. It's about endurance. It's about getting up and doing the thing again and again, even after the emotion is gone. Consistency is how you earn trust with yourself. Because if you keep quitting on your own word, you're training yourself not to believe you. You're teaching yourself that you can't be counted on. But when you lock in and keep showing up, even when it's slow, even when it hurts, you start stacking proof. That's how you build confidence. Not by faking it, not by reading quotes, but by doing the thing consistently until your life starts to shift. You say you want to be elite, but you won't repeat the process long enough to let the results catch up. The greats aren't made by one big moment. They're made by 1,000 small ones. 1,000 lonely workouts, 1,000 quiet mornings, 1,000 nights where they said no to distractions and yes to the vision. And guess what? That doesn't happen by accident. That's not willpower. That's not willpower. That's structure. That's showing up even when it's not convenient. That's looking at the goal, then looking at the calendar and doing what needs to be done without fail. You're looking at somebody else's results and calling it talent. It's not just talent, it's time, it's consistency. They've been doing it every day while you've been doing it when it's easy. You think they're lucky? No, they're consistent. They kept showing up while you kept restarting. Every time you would start over, you reset the clock. You keep planting, then digging up the seed every week to check if it's growing. That's why you're not seeing results. Not because it's not working, but because you're not consistent enough to let it work. You don't need a breakthrough. You need to stop breaking your own rhythm. Show up, even when it's slow. Even when it's thankless, even when it's repetitive, because consistency compounds, it stacks. It builds pressure, it builds character, it builds results. And the people who keep showing up while everyone else falls off, they're the ones who win, because consistency is the shortcut. Force it until it feels natural. You're waiting for it to feel right, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for the day it gets easier. That day's not coming. You want this to feel natural? You want this to feel automatic? Then you got to force it first. You've got to push through the resistance until the resistance breaks. You're not building comfort, you're building conditioning. That means at first it's going to feel forced, awkward, ugly. You'll mess up, you'll doubt yourself. You'll question whether you belong here. And you know what? You push anyway. You think the people at the top just woke up disciplined? You think they always wanted to do the right thing? No, they forced themselves to get up when they wanted to sleep. Forced themselves to study when they wanted to scroll. Forced themselves to train when nobody was watching. And after weeks, months, years of that pressure, it started to become who they were. Not because it was natural, but because they earned it through force. You want a new life with your same habits? You want a better result with the same effort? That's not how it works. You've got to force yourself out of what's comfortable. You've got to drag your body through those early mornings. Push yourself through those late nights. Repeat that routine, even when it's exhausting, because there's no freedom without fight. You can't expect to cruise into excellence. You've got to kick the door down. You've got to build momentum with muscle, not motivation. It's going to feel fake at first. Of course it is. You've been feeding the wrong habits for years. Your body is used to quitting. Your mind is used to ease. So when you finally decide to flip the switch, your system will fight back. That's normal, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because it feels unnatural doesn't mean it's not necessary. You think confidence comes first. No, action comes first. Confidence is the reward. Discipline is the bridge. And force is the beginning. There's this lie people love to believe, that if it doesn't come easy, it's not meant for you. That's nonsense. You want it to come easy? Then earn it. Build a system until it becomes second nature. Nobody becomes consistent by accident. Nobody becomes focused by default. They lock in and repeat it until the repetition rewires everything, until the work feels automatic. But before it's automatic, it has to be intentional. It has to be a choice. You don't stumble into high standards. You set them and enforce them. That means getting uncomfortable every day. That means showing up even when your mind gives you every excuse not to. That means getting used to the tension of growth. Growth doesn't show up with comfort. Growth shows up when you force yourself to do the thing you said you would, even when you're exhausted, even when nobody is checking on you, even when every part of you wants to fall back into that soft routine that's killing your potential. Repetition is how you break through. Force is how you start. You don't need to feel like a beast to train like one. You train like one until your mind catches up, until your body adjusts, until your identity starts to shift. The first few reps will feel fake. Do them anyway. The first few days will be clumsy. Show up anyway. The first few weeks will hurt. Push through anyway. Because the day you stop negotiating with your weakness is the day you start building your strength. The day you stop asking, do I feel like it? And start saying, I'm doing it anyway. It's the day you take control back. Excuses are comfortable. Growth ain't let's just get real about it. Excuses feel good. They feel safe. They feel justified. You make one, and for a moment, it takes the pressure off. You say, I'm too tired, and suddenly the guilt disappears. You say, I don't have time, and you get a free pass from responsibility. You say, I'm doing my best, even when deep down you know you're not. Excuses are a warm blanket. They wrap around your potential and smother it. Because they don't demand more of you, they let you off the hook. But growth is cold. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth rips the blanket off and says, well, let's see what you've got when there's no hiding. That's why most people run back to the excuses. Because growth exposes everything you've been avoiding. It holds up a mirror and forces you to face your own laziness, your own fears, your own lack of commitment. And the truth is, most people would rather protect their pride than change their life. Most people would rather explain why they can't than do the hard work of becoming someone who can. You know what excuses do? They let you feel okay with losing. They let you sleep at night with average effort. They let you dress up mediocrity and call it a doing your best. But let me ask you something real. If you had to watch a playback of every hour you wasted, every time you set a later, every time you scrolled instead of worked, every time you set a maybe next week to your goals, could you honestly say you gave it everything? Could you honestly say you earned what you didn't get? Growth don't care about your feelings. It doesn't wait for your schedule to line up. It doesn't slow down just because life got hard. Growth demands that you rise through the chaos, not around it, not later, now. But that's not how most people move. Most people hear the word of grind and start looking for a shortcut. They hear discipline and start thinking about how to get by with just enough. Let me tell you, just enough never built anything legendary. Just enough never built anything legendary. Just enough never left a legacy. Just enough is the cousin of excuses. You know why people love excuses? Because they make you the victim. And being the victim means nothing is your fault. It's your past. It's your parents. It's your boss. It's the economy. It's your genetics. It's everything but you. That way, you don't have to change. You don't have to be uncomfortable. You don't have to push. You can stay exactly where you are and blame everything around you for why you're not further ahead. But let me hit you with the truth. As long as you keep making excuses, you're choosing to stay weak. You're choosing safety over transformation. Growth ain't about how you feel. Growth doesn't care about your comfort zone. Growth is painful. It breaks you before it builds you. It stretches you so far you question if you're even capable. And in that stretch, you discover what you're made of. But only if you stick with it. Only if you stop bailing out the second it gets tough. Most people never grow because they treat pain like a stop sign instead of a green light. They feel discomfort and immediately run back to what's easy. But if easy worked, everybody would have what they want. Excuses sound good in the moment, but they cost you later. They cost you time, results, self-respect. And the worst part, they become your identity. Make enough excuses and they stop sounding like excuses. They start sounding like truth. Suddenly I can't becomes who you are. Suddenly I'm not that kind of person becomes a belief, but it's not truth, it's repetition. And just like you condition yourself to make excuses, you can train yourself to grow. But you've got to choose the pain that leads to power, not the comfort that leads to regret. Gut. Growth is about doing the thing even when it scares you, even when it's inconvenient, even when your whole system is begging for comfort. Because comfort never changed anyone, it just delays the pain. You stay comfortable now and you pay later in regret and missed opportunities and wasted time. But if you embrace the grind now, if you endure the discomfort, if you put yourself through the fire, you come out forged. You come out stronger. You come out ready to take on what used to break you. You want to grow? Then stop asking life to go easy on you. Stop waiting for the path to be clear. Stop hoping someone else is going to show up and save you. Nobody's coming. Nobody's going to build your dream for you. You've got to wake up and make the choice. Excuses or elevation. Comfort or commitment. You can't have both. You can't grow while you're protecting your ego. You can't become elite while living soft. This world doesn't reward intention. It rewards execution. It doesn't care what you plan to do. It cares what you actually did. Every excuse you make digs a deeper hole. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you just made the next day harder. You just taught your brain that quitting is acceptable. That breaking promises to yourself is normal. That mediocrity is okay as long as you have a reason. But growth doesn't work like that. Growth only responds to effort. Growth only shows up for the consistent. Growth only opens its doors to the relentless. And if you want to experience it, you've got to give up the lies that keep you from it. Excuses are seductive because they're easy. They let you off the hook. But what they don't do is move you forward. What they don't do is change your life. What they don't do is turn your potential into reality. That only happens when you drop the stories, drop the drama, and do the work. Every time you choose growth, it's going to hurt. But it's the kind of pain that leads to pride, the kind of pain that produces purpose, and the kind of pain that introduces you to the strongest version of yourself. Talent without consistency is wasted. Talent is the gift, but consistency is the muscle that builds something meaningful. Talent is raw potential, but if you don't have consistency to go with it, you might as well not have talent at all. And talent alone won't get you anywhere. You know why? Because talent without consistency is wasted. It's like having a Ferrari, but never putting gas in it. It looks good, but it won't take you anywhere. It's all show and no go. And the world doesn't care how much potential you have. It cares about what you do with it. You've seen it. You've seen people who are naturally gifted who can pick something up in a minute and make it look easy. But what happens when the road gets tough? What happens when the grind kicks in and it's not all sunshine and quick wins? Those people with all the talent, the ones who think they're untouchable because they've always been able to get by without putting in real work, they fade, they lose steam. And eventually the ones who are less talented but consistent, the ones who showed up even when they didn't feel like it, passed them. That's the power of consistency. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, I've got talent. I can do this. I'm better than most. And that might be true. You might be naturally good at something, but talent is temporary. It's a gift that can easily be overshadowed by hard work, by persistence, by the willingness to show up every day when the motivation runs dry. Talent might get you noticed, but it's consistency that gets you results. It's the difference between someone who can do something well once and someone who can do it well every day. No matter what. We've all seen it happen, right? That person who's naturally gifted, who can impress with minimal effort, and then fades when it's time to push through the grind. They lose out to the person who shows up when it's inconvenient, the person who continues to practice even when it feels like there's no progress, the one who wasn't as flashy, but they had something better, the consistency to stick with it when nobody was watching. Talent, without that consistency, is just potential wasted. You're sitting on a gold mine, but not doing anything to tap into it. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't always talent. It's the ones who stay in the game longer, who keep pushing past the discomfort, the rejection, the struggle. Success is built on habits. It's built on what you do every day, even when it feels like you're not making progress, even when you feel like you're stuck. And consistency is what carries you through that. Talent is a fleeting spark of light. Consistency is the fire that burns long after the spark fades. You don't see the behind-the-scenes hustle of the successful ones. You don't see the hours they put in. You don't see them grinding through the sweat, the doubt, the exhaustion. You see the end product, the results. But the results didn't come from talent alone. They came from consistency. They came from showing up every single day, even when it wasn't exciting, even when it wasn't fun, even when the world was telling them to give up. Consistency is the muscle behind the talent. Without it, all the skill in the world is irrelevant. Here's the thing. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the commitment to back it up, you'll never reach your true potential. You'll never see what you could truly become. Because talent is easy, talent is natural. But what separates the grace from the good is consistency, the ability to work relentlessly day in and day out, with no excuses, no shortcuts, and no guarantees. It's the willingness to do the things others won't. It's the discipline to show up even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when you're not seeing the results you think you should. You know who the most successful people are. They're the ones who never stop. They're the ones who keep going. Everyone else stops. They're the ones who keep practicing, keep improving, keep learning. And they're the ones who know that talent is only the beginning. They know that success comes from showing up when you don't feel like it, from putting in the work when nobody's cheering for you, from making the small, consistent efforts that lead to massive results over time. Talent without consistency is like a muscle that's never trained. You might have the potential for greatness, but without consistent effort, you'll never see it come to life. It's like having a gym membership, but never stepping foot in the gym. It doesn't matter how strong you could be. It only matters how strong you choose to be every day through consistency. Your potential is locked in your ability to show up, to put in the work, to push past your limits and build strength, skill, and results day after day. That is what makes talent shine. That's when you go from being someone with potential to someone with actual results. If you're not putting in a consistent effort, you're wasting your time and your talent. You're squandering the very thing that could elevate you. Talent is a tool. Consistency is the blueprint. And if you don't use that tool in line with the blueprint, you'll never build anything worthwhile. Talent without consistency is a gift that goes unwrapped. It's a dream that never comes true. But when you bring consistency into the equation, that's when you turn potential into reality. Success doesn't come from talent alone. They're counting on you to do the work today. They're counting on you to put in the effort right now, to make the tough decisions, to build the habits that will define your future. They're counting on you to rise above the excuses, to push past the doubt, to move when you feel like standing still. They're counting on you to make choices today that will make tomorrow better. But here's the question. Are you showing up for them? You're looking at your current self, and you're thinking about what you want right now. You want comfort. You want convenience. You want immediate rewards. But your future self is out there waiting for you to take action, waiting for you to plant the seeds that will grow into the life you dream of. Your future self doesn't care about your excuses. They don't care that you're tired, that you're scared, that it feels hard. What they care about is that you showed up today, that you kept the promises you made, and that you didn't back down from the discomfort. You think you're just living for yourself right now, but you're not. Every decision you make today will affect the person you become tomorrow. Every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you make an excuse, every time you procrastinate, your future self feels the weight of it. They feel the regret of missed opportunities. They feel the consequences of your lack of action. And deep down, they're hoping that you'll do something different. They're hoping you'll rise up and fight through the moment. They're hoping you'll stop taking the easy way out and start making the tough calls. You might think you have time, that you can afford to put things off until later. But time doesn't wait. The clock keeps ticking. And with every second that passes, your future self is either getting closer to the success you want or further away from it. You can't afford to waste time. Not anymore. Because your future self, they're going to be a direct reflection of the decisions you make today. The life you'll have tomorrow depends on the actions you take right now. And you don't want to let them down. Look at the life you want. What does it look like? What does success mean to you? Now ask yourself, what am I doing today to make that happen? Every day is a chance to build toward that future. But you're not going to build it by waiting for the right moment or by waiting for motivation to hit. You're going to build it through consistency, through discipline, through the courage to show up even when you don't feel like it. Your future self is depending on your commitment today, on your refusal to quit, on your ability to push past the barriers that stand between you and the person you're meant to be. You've got to stop thinking about your future self as some distant figure. You've got to see them as a part of you. Your future self is already here, in your mind, in your heart, in your potential. They are living through you right now. Every small decision you make adds up to who you become. And every time you hesitate, every time you delay, every time you allow fear or uncertainty to control your actions, you are letting them down. Every day you waste is a day your future self will never get back. Every time you give in to distractions, every time you allow yourself to stay stuck, you are sabotaging the person you want to become. And let's be real, your future self won't thank you for that. They won't thank you for all the times you told yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, and then failed to follow through. They won't thank you for all the nights you stayed up late watching TV or scrolling through your phone instead of doing the work that would move you forward. They won't thank you for all the times you allowed yourself to stay comfortable, to stay complacent, to avoid the hard work that builds real success. What they will thank you for is every day you pushed yourself to be better, every time you got up earlier than the day before, every time you stayed focused even when you didn't feel like it. They will thank you for every time you chose growth over comfort, for every time you chose progress over procrastination. They will thank you for every sacrifice you made, every ounce of discipline you demonstrated, every obstacle you overcame. Because those moments, those decisions are what will build the life you dream of. Those are the moments that will shape the future version of you into someone who is strong, capable, and unstoppable. Your future self is not some abstract idea. They are a reality waiting to happen. And they are depending on you to make the right choices now. They're counting on you to keep pushing, to keep showing up, to keep grinding, even when it feels like nothing is working. Because consistency compounds, effort compounds, small actions repeated day after day build momentum that turns into results. It's not about massive shifts all at once. It's about the small, consistent decisions you make every single day that build up to something massive over time. Your future self is the person who is already counting in the cost of your current decisions. They are the one who will benefit from the work you put in now. They are the one who will step into the success you've been building. The one who will look back and say, I thank you for not quitting. Thank you for pushing through when it was hard. Thank you for choosing discipline over distractions. Thank you for betting on yourself. So what are you going to do today? Are you going to keep making excuses? Are you going to keep avoiding the hard work? Or are you going to make the choice to show up for your future self? Are you going to put in the work even when you don't feel like it? Are you going to refuse to settle for anything less than your best, knowing that the effort you put in today will shape the person you become tomorrow? Because here's the bottom line. Your future self is depending on you. Every action, every decision, every ounce of effort you put in now will pay dividends down the road. You can't afford to waste time. You can't afford to waste another day. Your future self is counting on you to take action, to commit, to push past the fear and doubt, to refuse to settle for anything less than what you're capable of. And when that future version of you arrives, they'll thank you. They'll thank you for the grit, the discipline, the sacrifices, and the work that you put in today. They'll look back at the person you are now and say, you did it. You didn't give up. You made it happen. You made exactly who I needed you to be.